much. Thanks for joining us here on the program. It is exactly 9 p.m. East African time. Time now for Lookup News. And of course, we've got all the day's stories. And as well in studio tonight, we'll be having a conversation about the state of the nation, looking at the new appointment of the principal secretaries by President William Ruto and all the conversation around it, as well as the extrajudicial killings that have been taking center stage in the last few weeks. We have that conversation and so much more lined up for you. But before we get into the business, here are the highlights.
The news headlines in association with
On Lookup News tonight, 9 Special Service Unit officers say they have been sacrificed to cover senior police officers as the prosecution urges the court to deny them bond pending investigations.
There are many cases of extrajudicial killings. Young men have disappeared without trace. Those are things that must come to an end.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the Kenya Kwanza government is keen on ending extrajudicial killings and police brutality prevailing in the country.
Let us prioritize clearance of the children matters, especially those that have been in courts beyond 6 months.
And in the corridors of justice, Chief Justice Martha Koome appeals for fast-tracking of children cases to ease access to justice as she launches Judicial Service Month.
Yippee! Kamata floating at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optivent's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Once more, welcome to the broadcast. This is Lookup News. The hashtag is Lookup News across all our social media platforms at Lookuptv on Twitter, Lookuptv on Facebook, and Lookuptv on our official YouTube channel. And of course, let's begin. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Thursday assured the country that the Kenya Kwanza administration will put an end to enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings. Gachagua spoke during the Mombasa International Show at Mikomani grounds, also promised that the government will prioritize the welfare of law enforcers and not misuse them by having them practice illegal activities on behalf of the government.
Speaking during the launch of the 119th Mombasa International Show, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua condemned extrajudicial killings by police officers.
You have seen matters of extrajudicial killings that were happening under the reign of the former DCI. Here in Mombasa, there are many cases of extrajudicial killings. Young men have disappeared without trace. Those are things that must come to an end.
This comes days after President William Ruto ordered the disbandment of the Special Police Unit placed at the center of winding investigations into the web of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. The order led to 9 police officers being arrested and are currently under investigations for allegedly enforcing the disappearance and killing of 2 Indians and their driver. The 3 were reportedly killed at Aberdare Forest by police officers who were part of the disbanded SSU unit.
Please follow the Constitution and the police service orders in the execution of your duties. Don't agree to obey unlawful orders because you will be held to account. We want a just, equitable society where there is justice for everybody, where there is equity, and where the police, their work is to facilitate good living, protect life and property, and make sure that criminals are removed from amidst law-abiding Kenyans.
The Deputy President has, however, assured the officers that President Ruto's administration will improve their remuneration and living standards.
Tunajua mumeumia sana. Tangu Mwai Kibaki aondoke hamjapata nyongeza ya mshahara na marupurupu. Tutaweka kamati hivi karibuni ya kuangalia mambo ya police officers and prisons officers, their terms and conditions of service, with a view of improving their remuneration, allowances, and other matters of promotion, risk allowance, and all things, other matters that cause concern within the service. Mukipewa mshahara kitu kikubwa, muachane na mambo ya kitu kidogo kwa sababu hakuna haja. Ndio tuweze kuendelea mbele.
Families and friends of the deceased are still calling on the government to take actions and ensure justice is served. Cecilia Lubanga, Lookuptv.
And in the corridors of justice, Chief Justice Martha Koome has called on the Exchequer to increase funding for children's litigation programs to enhance access to justice. During the launch of Children's Service Month, which seeks to promote children's rights and increase awareness of children's litigation programs, Koome has urged all courts spread across the country to expedite the hearing and determination of cases involving children to clear the backlog of such cases. Here's our reporter Henry Tunde with more.
Justice Martha Koome has officially declared the month of November the service month for the year 2022. During this launch, Martha Koome has appealed to her team in various courts across the country to clear a backlog of cases involving children by fast-tracking the hearing and determination of such cases.
My office is also looking to receiving a conclusive and detailed report from all the court stations indicating the number of children cases that are filed, that are resolved, and the ones that are pending at the conclusion of the month, because every case should be connected. Even if it is not finished during this November month, it must be finished in December or January latest.
In this service month, the judiciary will, among other things, focus on improving legal representation for children by strengthening the pro bono services scheme. It will also seek to create increased awareness on the rights of the child. The judiciary will additionally organize a forum for children to interact with the justice sector processes. The CJ notes that various programs are already afoot to promote children's rights and ease their access to justice.
We have now made access to justice for children a priority area in the judiciary, and my office is in the process of developing a strategy which will help us to identify strategic model interventions that will enhance justice for all our children.
However, Koome laments such crucial programs are frustrated by lack of adequate funds and has made a passionate appeal to the Exchequer to specifically increase monetary allocation to children litigation programs as a way of enhancing service delivery.
I acknowledge the limitation in funding and budgetary allocation across all justice agencies who are handling children matters. And I would like to call for increased budgetary allocation for children matters in the justice system in Kenya.
The CJ hopes by the end of the service month, the judiciary will have elaborate structures and processes that will enhance children's rights by providing knowledge on litigation process and facilitating access to legal services. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Tanda. And still staying in the courts, the 9 police officers from the disbanded Special Service Unit now claim they are being used as sacrificial lambs by senior officers at the DCI. The 9 who are accused of being responsible for the disappearance of the 2 Indians and their driver will know their fate on Thursday next week, as Chief Magistrate Dan Mochache is set to rule on whether to release them on bond or not. Shadrach Kareri reports.
Police officers from the Special Service Unit now lies with Senior Magistrate Diana Mochache, as she is set to rule on whether the 9 police officers will be released on board or not next week on Thursday. In the heated proceedings at Kahawa Law Court, the state, through its lawyers, asked the court to continue detaining the 9 police officers for a period of 30 more days for them to complete investigation into the suspect's mobile phones, identifying vehicles that the suspect is said to have used on the night of abduction, and their DNA.
Or at Polesereni area near the scene of the abduction, or Aberdares National Park, where it is believed the victims' bodies were dumped.
The plea was highly opposed by the suspect lawyers, who pleaded with the court to release the 9 police officers on bond on grounds that they have stayed in custody for a long time.
I'm recording, yes.
The defense lawyers told the court that their clients have been targeted and have been sacrificed to cover senior officers in the police service.
The state says they have not investigated any of these people at all. Paragraph 5 of their affidavit, dated 24th of October 2022, by one officer, Michael Kirui, Assistant ASP, says preliminary investigations reveal that the second respondent drove one of the Subaru.
The 9 police officers stating that they were following orders from their then boss, George Kinoti. The respondents have maintained that the case against them is purely politically sponsored. The defense lawyers asked the court to release their clients on bond, arguing that the prosecution side has already completed the investigations. The lawyers also doubted the existence of 2 Indian nationals, stating that there is no clear information from the immigration office that proves that indeed the 2 came into the country.
He is doubtful whether they exist in terms of having been in this country.
Shadrach Kareria, Lookuptv.
And away from that, a 30-year-old man has pleaded guilty to charges of verbally abusing a female matatu driver. George Karanja is accused of having insulted Catherine Wangari over a parking spot in Nairobi. And as our reporter Press Kanjarina reports, Karanja's freedom now hangs in the balance as he awaits the court's verdict.
George Karanja is a man whose freedom now hangs in the balance following his angry outburst at Catherine Wangari. Karanja verbally assaulted Wangari, leading to her suing him for what she termed as hurtful language and unspeakable insults.
And the accused person followed the matatu to where the driver had parked, opened the driver's door, pulled out the complainant, while doing this, called the complainant Malaya, Kino, and told her to me and Devu.
It is alleged that Karanja started the conflict after he found Catherine had parked her vehicle at the parking space reserved for vehicles of the company that he works for.
Your Honor, the accused person approached the complainant, asking her to drive away. As where the matatu was parked belonged to Finn Travelers and not Triple S Circle.
Karanja continues to wait for the court's decision after begging it to forgive and put to consideration that he asked Catherine for forgiveness when sentencing him. Pris Kanjari, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Press Kanjari. Now let's talk matters hunger crisis. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has urged food secure counters in Kenya to share surplus produce with those severely affected by the drought. The Deputy President revealed that some 4.35 million Kenyans were in dire need of food and water. According to Gachagua, the government has mitigation measures in place to deal with the situation. The DP made the remarks on Thursday when he presided over the opening of the Mombasa International Show at the Mkomani Showgrounds.
The government has prioritized agriculture as one of the 5 pillars of our economic recovery plan, alongside micro, small and medium enterprises, housing and settlement, healthcare, and the digital superhighway and the creative economy. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, Kenya and indeed the Horn of Africa are facing extraordinary food and nutritional situation due to prolonged drought. As we speak, over 4.3 million Kenyans are in need of food and water. We have lost 2.5 million herds of livestock. The numbers grow every minute, day by day. These are not mere numbers. They are lives and livelihoods. It is absurd that we are discussing food insecurity in the 21st century. But as a government, we'll see a different Kenya in the next few months. It is our commitment. Meanwhile, I appeal to all the county governments through the Council of Governors to moot a coordinated plan to supply food from the surplus producing counties to the affected regions. I also appeal to them to consider the lifting of the cess for food on transit to the affected zones affected by droughts. I call for proper utilization of the resources mobilized for this noble cause. Firm action will be taken against anyone who misappropriates the relief food and other resources for this very needed cause. Ladies and gentlemen, I am particularly concerned that despite the promising innovations from our young people, there is low youth participation in agriculture, inadequate integration of ICT, and low mechanization in production. That is why we are spearheading sustained agricultural reforms to accelerate integration of smart farming as conceived under the Kenya Kwanza plan. Ladies and gentlemen, Coast Region has traditionally thrived as a leading producer of cashew nuts and coconut cash crops. We'll continue to implement targeted interventions to revitalize value addition to these two cash crops, which have performed dismally in recent years. I also challenge you to take the logistical advantage of the port city of Mombasa and the free trade zone at Dongo Kudu to gain more from exports. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I once again commend the Agricultural Society of Kenya, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, the Governor of Mombasa County, exhibitors, and all other stakeholders who played a role in making this trade fair a success.
Staying on the hunger crisis as drought continues to ravage several parts of the country. In our daily segment of Your Opinion Matters, we ask whether Kenyans are satisfied with the government's handling of the situation. Grace Murithi went to the streets, and this is what Kenyans had to say.
Drought ravaged the country. The government has come up with various ways to help mitigate it. Today on Your Opinion Matters, we ask Kenyans on whether they are content with the measures the government have laid down in order to solve the problem. This is what they had to say.
Mimi mwenyewe naitwa Dr. Mbai. Mimi ni mkaaji wa hapa Nairobi. Tunaomba serikali ambayo iko mamlakani kwa saa hizi, make sure imechimbia hao watu borehole, imehakikisha kuna green pasture at that place so that hao watu wanaweza kukuza hiyo mimea yao, ilete maziwa, ifaitisha tena Wakenya wengine.
Naitwa Victor Maina. Naona serikali inajaribu, ila kwa saa hizi kitu wanaweza fanya labda itakuwa ni first aid kupitia misaada kutoka nchi zingine ama kwa watu binafsi.
Jina langu ni Moses Joroge. Mimi nimetoka Limuru. Kusema kweli mvua imenyesha hapa Nairobi, lakini kuna maeneo mengine hawajapata mvua. Kama juzi nilikuwa Garissa na mvua imeanza kunyesha kidogo kidogo. Sasa ile kitu serikali ningewaambia ama ningewahizi ni kama vile waziri wetu Alice Wahome aliongea mambo ya damu. Damu zikiwa mingi, watu wakuuze chakula, hata mtu akiwa na pesa yake haitaisha kwa mfuko, sababu pesa inaisha sababu ya kununua chakula. Lakini kama damu zipo, watu wasimamiwe na hiyo maji. Sasa watapanda kila kitu na nchi itakuwa sawa.
Kurekebisha zile zilikuwa zinaitwa National Cereals Board, zinafaa zote ziimarishwe. Alafu kama ni maneno na ukulima, vile kama hili shamba huwa tunasikia la Galana Kulalu, waendelee kufanya ukulima kwa wingi. Hata huwa nasikia kama hizo sehemu zenye ziko na hiyo changamoto, ndipo kama ukulima ikifanyika vile inahitajika, ndio mahali tunaweza pata chakula kwa wingi.
Kenyans have raised different concerns on the matter, therefore asking the government to come up with long-term solutions in order to curb drought in the future. Grace Mureithi, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Grace. And remember, this segment comes to you every single day right here on Lookuptv, and it's an opportunity for your voice to be heard on national issues. Moving on to some business, Kenya Association of Manufacturers has played host to Clean Energy Conference and Expo during the ongoing Changamka Shopping Festival in Nairobi. The conference aimed at deliberating on how to promote the uptake of clean and renewable energy by local manufacturers. And as Edwin John Mukoro now reports, the theme of the conference was the pathway to net zero climate change and energy security.
With COP27 slated to take place in Egypt later this month, the discussion on mitigating climate change continues to take center stage. The expo is aimed at exploring alternative energy sources with a special focus on renewable energy and sustainable energy in the country.
I'm happy to note that the industries are thinking, the manufacturing sector is thinking in that direction, because the greatest conversation that we are having now is whether to go for profit at the expense of the environment, or to think about our environment. And that's where the energy sector is.
Director for Renewable Energy at the Ministry of Energy, Engineer Benson Mwakina, observed that Kenya is endowed with vast natural resources like wind, solar and geothermal energy that need to be tapped into, adding that it was important for the country to grow the local industry for the opportunities to be exploited.
So everyone in the East African region is learning from Kenya, and we are very proud of that. And so we are also happy because of CAM and the Center for Energy Efficiency, because whatever we agree to do, we do it together. And the issue of training, they give the trainings that they plan. Of course, our people, the whole the sector also benefits. Our engineers, our officers benefit. And we see how it has brought us together, especially in this reduction of CO2 emissions.
On her part, the Council of Governors representative has lauded the local manufacturing sector for embracing clean energy and transitioning to green and sustainable manufacturing as the world faces the impact of climate change.
As we speak today again, 43 counties have operationalized the county climate change funds, to which they allocate about 1% to 3% of their development budgets towards climate mitigation strategies. Additionally, these counties have developed climate information service plans, which are estimated to serve approximately 2.5 million people or 375 households in furtherance of this.
The Clean Energy Conference and Expo runs alongside the Changamka Shopping Festival, which seeks to celebrate the local manufacturing sector. Edwin John Mukora, Look Up Business.
It's time now for some sporting action. Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba on Thursday met with Kenya Premier League chairpersons for a consultation meeting to help lift FIFA's suspension on Kenyan football. The chairperson asked the secretary to reinstate the Football Kenya Federation (FKF) to FIFA and can revoke the suspension that came in force in February 2022.